Hey, Active Minds families, Mr. Mike here, bringing you Civil Rights Week. This week is going to be an exploration and experience into the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. To get to the root of the Jim Crow South segregation, we have to start at the beginning. So our first day, we'll be flying into New Orleans and be visiting Whitney Plantation, which is a pre-Civil War antebellum style plantation where enslaved people lived and worked. And we are going to see what life was like for an enslaved person in the South pre-Civil War. This is going to be a visceral experience. We're going to learn about the lives of those enslaved on these plantations, what it was like.
Good morning. Well, about an hour's drive from New Orleans along the Mississippi River sits the Civil War era sugarcane plantation. The Whitney Plantation looms as a stark reminder that our nation was built on the backs of slaves. It's a tough part of our history to remember, but one man is investing a fortune to bring it all back to life.
This house is full of secrets.
They would sleep on pallets on the floors.
Beneath whitewashed ceilings, through quiet gardens, a dark history unfolds. Tourists peer into cages where slaves were beaten. Statues of black children stare back at them. In this sanctuary, memorializing the harsh reality of slavery, Cummings decided to dedicate the entire plantation to the slave perspective. He spent $8 million of his own money collecting antiques and commissioning art.
Kids will participate in a journal entry. The idea behind this is not just to document what we learned, but to document those visceral feelings that you have when you experience history like we are. And it will start on this particular experience with a poem. And the focus is on what it might have been like being an enslaved person on that plantation. On day 2, students will travel to Glendora, Mississippi and learn about the events surrounding Emmett Till. From the corner store to the courthouse in Sumner, students will see firsthand where these events took place. Students will explore the events surrounding Emmett Till's abduction, the acquittal by an all-white jury, and the impact on the African American community. Students will journal about the events that they experienced today and how their impact may have started the civil rights movement. On day 3, students will be traveling to Montgomery, Alabama, to the birthplace of the civil rights movement. They will explore Rosa Parks Museum, the Dexter Avenue King Memorial Baptist Church, where Dr. King started his ministry, Dr. King's home. Later this day, students will walk in the footsteps of Dr. King on the Selma to Montgomery Trail over the Edmund Peteas Bridge, where voting rights marchers encountered law enforcement, which led to Bloody Sunday. Students will learn to explore the tactics used against peaceful demonstrators, later journaling about the experience and its influence on the American people. On day 4, students will learn how Birmingham, Alabama became a turning point in the civil rights movement. Students will explore the Civil Rights Institute. They will tour the 16th Street Baptist Church, which was bombed by Klansmen in 1963. They'll visit the Birmingham jail, where Dr. King wrote his famous letter. Students will learn how a low turnout of volunteers led to the use of students, who were a focal point in a non-violent demonstration to desegregate Birmingham. Students' journal entries today will include a writing prompt about how they, as students, can impact change. Day 5 takes us to Selma, Alabama, where students will explore the National Voting Rights Museum and Brown Chapel, where Dr. King started the Voting Rights March. Students will journal about the sacrifices made by those outside of the African American community to fight for equality. Our last day brings us to a conclusion in Memphis, Tennessee. Students will follow Dr. King in his final days. They will experience his "I've been on the mountaintop" speech, which predicted his own death just the night before.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Students will explore the Lorraine Motel and his final moments. Students will make their final journal entry about their experience, their feelings on this week-long immersion into the struggle for freedom and justice in 1950s and 60s America.